All right, what's going on, guys? Tonight we're going to talk about one of my favorite companies, probably one of the biggest holdings in my portfolio to date, and it's none other than NVIDIA. For those of you that keep up with tech, stocks, gaming, GPUs, all of that kind of stuff, we had CES yesterday. The CEO of NVIDIA, Jensen Huang, he did the keynote. He talked about a lot of great things as far as their guidance, their outlook, a lot of great technological advancement that they've been working on. So tonight, I'm going to give just a general overview of NVIDIA for those of you that may not know what NVIDIA is, what they're about, and then we're going to talk about a couple of talking points that were talked about last night at CES, and then he also did a Q&A earlier today, and I'm going to talk about a few things that I heard in that Q&A that I think are important, that I think are going to be relevant not only now but over the next few years as we develop in the AI space and semiconductor space. So let's get right into it. NVIDIA, just going over some basic general information because I'm not going to assume everybody knows about these companies. And if you don't know about these companies, I want you to be able to watch this video, get value. And by the time you get to the end of this video, you'll know a little bit about NVIDIA. And if you want to know more, you can look it up. So NVIDIA, ticker symbol NVDA. This is a NASDAQ company. They're also in the Dow Jones. They're also in the S&P 500. This is a massive company. I think last week they might have flipped Apple. They might have flipped Apple, for the biggest valuation. So, all right, industry. Of course, they're in the semiconductor industry. CEO is Mr. Jensen Huang. This company was founded in 1993. They've been around for a while. They've been dealing with GPUs and gamings and graphics processing units for a while. All right, so the business description for NVIDIA. NVIDIA Corporation provides graphics, compute, and networking solutions globally. It operates in segments like graphics and compute and networking, offering products for gaming, professional visualization, data centers, and automotive markets. So we're talking about NVIDIA. This is a massive company. Look at that market cap, 3.4 billion. 3.4 billion. Look at those total revenues, 113 billion. Profitability. Look at those gross profit margins, 75.86%. EBITDA. That's crazy. 64.22%. Operating margin is good. Net profit margin is good. Revenue per share, $4.60. That's good as well. Look at that. Return on total capital, 73.74%. That's amazing. That's what you want to see as an investor. Talking about dividends, we love dividend stocks. We love great companies that pay out dividends. We love that. Valuation, PE, price to earnings, 55.34. That's good. That's what we like to see. Growth, look at that. CAGR. See, that is an amazing CAGR. That's amazing. 67.11% on the 3-year, 5-year, 62.43%, 10-year, 37.84%. I think for a company this size, what standard considered good is like 8 to 12%. Look at that. That's insane. That's insane. Okay, so when we get to talking about NVIDIA and we get to talking about their revenue streams, how does NVIDIA make money? Well, data centers is one of NVIDIA's biggest money makers, one of their biggest revenue streams. Their quarterly revenue, they did 30.77 billion. That's bringing about 87% of their revenue, of the company's revenue. Next is gaming. Brought in about 3.2, almost 3.3 million. Professional visualization, 486 million. Automotive, 449 million. OEM and others, 97 million. And we're talking about quarterly earnings. As you can see, the chart got annual trailing revenue as well. Earnings before interest and taxes. As you can see, before they pay that interest and taxes, look at these numbers. The computer networking segment, annual, 32 billion. Graphics. Look at these numbers, man. Look at these numbers, guys. Okay, so NVIDIA Corporation is a leading player in semiconductor industry with a strong focus on data centers and gaming. The company has shown impressive growth in revenue and earnings per share over the years, supported by innovation products with strategic collaborations. Now, when we're talking about NVIDIA, Unless you've been living under a rock, if you're into stocks, if you're into tech, you know NVIDIA just had a massive, massive 2024. A massive 2024. The stock seen a little bit of slippage, seen a little bit of lackluster performance going into the end of the year. Going into the end of the year, but you know, don't count NVIDIA out. Don't count NVIDIA out. I think they're still a master in the space. They're still much further ahead than their competition. And I think NVIDIA is going to be around for a while, especially when we get to talking about some of these things they spoke on in CES, and when we get to talking about some of these things they talked about in the Q&A. All right, so let's keep going. CES. What are some things they talked about at CES last night during the keynote? So we'll go over some of these highlights. Talked about graphics cards, the new RTX 50 series GPUs, the Blackwells. Amazing. Now, I am not the biggest techie tech guy when it comes to these GPUs and all of the vernacular when it comes to that. But I love NVIDIA from an investor standpoint. I'm able to hear these things and be able to know enough about it to see the trajectory of the company, how they're shaping the future, how they're collaborating with some of the biggest companies in the world. And with all of that, I can see where it's going. I may not know about all the tech. That's not really what I do. I may not be able to understand all the technical jargon, and I do game, but not on PCs. My son, he had a PC built, so but that's not my thing. But I can understand it enough to understand it from an investment standpoint. Okay, so when we're talking about AI technology, the DLSS 4 updates. We're talking about that multi-frame generation for over double the frames compared to the latest model. Talking about cloud gaming, GeForce Now. Talking about laptop GPUs with GeForce RTX 50 series. Broadcasting, NVIDIA Broadcast app. Robotics and AI. That's the big one. The Cosmos platform. Automotive. They're talking about autonomous vehicles. Personal AI computing. Project Digits. These are some of the projects that they've been working on, some of the things he spoke on in CES last night at the keynote. So I listened to his Q&A earlier today, and I took notes. I took notes on my phone, and I wanted to share some of the highlights or some of the most important parts that stood out to me during his Q&A. So the first one, Jensen talked about future guidance on Blackwell and Hopper production. So Jensen said that Hopper and Blackwell chips will begin shipping in Q1 of 2025. He said both are scaling in production with several billion Blackwell estimated in guidance. So Blackwell chip, he estimated several billion being shipped out this year, and maybe even more. He said Hopper and Blackwell, everything is going fine. Everything's going to start shipping this quarter. So that's great news. That's great news if you're an investor in NVIDIA, if you're just interested in the company, interested in technology, this is great news. When we're talking about NVIDIA's outlook on another thing he talked about it last night at CES, was robotics. He talked about robotics, and he talked about two segments of robotics that the company focus on. These two sectors are automotive when it comes to robotics and humanoid robots. So what he kind of spoke on automotive in the Q&A. Jensen said that they're working with companies such as Toyota, Tesla, Chinese EV maker BYD, and many more. He said NVIDIA has been working on and developing autonomous vehicle technology for the last 10 years. They've been working behind the scenes. NVIDIA has been working. They've been developing this technology. He said NVIDIA estimates to do $5 billion in the automotive industry in 2025. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. With autonomous vehicles, they're making some headway. They're making some headway, and Jensen believes that autonomous vehicles are a lot closer than we think. He believes they're a lot closer than we think. Jensen also said that he believes all EV companies will eventually become autonomous, and all other companies as well will have to follow suit or no longer remain a car company. So he has strong conviction. He has very strong conviction in these autonomous vehicles and the technology behind them. And NVIDIA plans on being a big part of autonomous vehicles in the future. He also said that car companies will need two factories in the future. You'll need one, of course, to produce cars, and the other one will be for AI infrastructure, which he predicts will be another key source of revenue for the company. These AI, not really data centers, but these AI factories, that will kind of power the AI technology behind the autonomous vehicles. So he sees that as a revenue stream, potential revenue stream for NVIDIA in the future. Now, another thing about robotics, we're talking about the humanoid robots. Humanoid robots. And Jensen believes that they will be one of the biggest powerhouses when it comes to the technology behind these robots. NVIDIA will not be, per se, building the robots, but they will be the technology behind it. Jensen believes that humanoid robots will be able to scale incredibly fast because you don't have to change the world to deploy them. Meaning, he spoke on some of these robots kind of have some been on wheels and some doing this and that. And he believes the humanoid robots will be the most scalable because they move, function like a normal human. You don't have to change anything about the way the world works, about the current infrastructure we have now in order for these things to be able to operate, which is why he believes they'll be able to scale at a fast rate. So when he's talking about robotics, okay, what are some ways that what are some revenue potentials for NVIDIA when he's talking about these humanoid robots? Well, when it comes to the humanoid robots, he spoke on NVIDIA not being the one actually producing the robots, but the technology behind them. What is the technology behind them? What do they have to do with these humanoid robots? Well, NVIDIA focuses on data training for the robots. They have two things called Omniverse and Cosmos that will be used to train AI models for robotics with AI that is physics grounded. He spoke on that physics grounded, and he said they will be creating generative world models that all companies will need to use to acquire data to train their AI models. So, NVIDIA is going to be behind the AI training. He's going to be behind the data. This is why you see him talking about joining up with companies like Micron for their storage and their data. Okay, he's talking. What else? What's another revenue potential? Simulation technology. They're working on that, and they will also be providing data centers for the robotics. See what I'm saying? AI data center. Not. He said that he believes that we'll have. They're already into the data center business heavy, but Jensen also believes that not not instead of, but we will have data centers that they will be a big part of, and we will have these AI factories that NVIDIA also plans to be a part of. So the big one, the big thing that he talked about in his Q&A that intrigued me the most was quantum. Everybody's talking about quantum. Who's going to be the leader in quantum? We have a lot of these smaller quantum stocks that have been popping off, especially in Q4 of 2024. Quantum is the big deal. You've seen Google have a breakthrough, and now NVIDIA is staking their claim in this Q&A. Okay, Jensen, when he's talking about quantum, Jensen said NVIDIA is working with almost every quantum company in the world. They've been working behind the scenes. I didn't know that until I heard this Q&A. He said NVIDIA has something called CUDA-Q, and this is an open source quantum development platform orchestrating the hardware and software needed to run useful, large scale quantum computing applications. They've been working in quantum. So that not only tells you they have the GPUs, they have the data centers, they have all of that on lock. They're working on humanoid robots, they're working on autonomous vehicles, and they're also working on quantum. That's why I did not understand, any type of distaste or displeasure with the CES keynote. And I don't understand why the stock was dropping. I don't think a lot of people listened to this Q&A. A lot of people said they didn't like the outlook or the subject matter of CES, and it just didn't do it for him. It did it for me. It did it for me as an NVIDIA investor. The things that I heard have gotten me extremely excited. So to keep on going with this quantum. So what are they doing as far as quantum in partnership with a lot of these quantum companies that they're working with. Okay, he named very specific things. He said NVIDIA is behind simulating algorithms. They're behind simulating architecture. They're behind creating the architecture itself and developing algorithms for future use. So that's what NVIDIA is doing. Once again, the technology behind it. That's what they're doing. And he believes that quantum will be used for handling small scale issues, not large ones. He also estimated that quantum is about 20 to 30 years away. And then he also said that NVIDIA will be a significant role player in quantum. That's what I want to hear as an investor. That's what I want to hear as an investor. We'll have to see if it comes to pass, but I like what I'm hearing. And finally, to close out, he talked about his future outlook on computing. Jensen said general purpose computing is over and the path forward is accelerated computing. Machine learning is the future. No more hand coding. No more hand coding. Jensen spoke on his software engineers for his company, and he said the standard for NVIDIA software engineers were that every software engineer has to use an AI assistant or they will not be able to code fast enough. And he sees that being the standard across the industry, not years from now, but he sees that starting to take place in 2025. He sees it starting to take place in 2025. These AI agents, these AI assistants, he sees it being a big deal. And he says he's already implementing that and making that the standard within his own company. Also, he predicted that AI factories, in addition to, not instead of, data centers, will power AI robots and will be generating AI tokens. So, NVIDIA, in closing, NVIDIA is an amazing company. They're powering all of our favorite tech. They're providing semiconductor chips for all of our favorite companies, the Tesla, Amazon, Microsoft. You know, they're behind a lot of things. They're behind humanoid robots, quantum, autonomous vehicles, gaming. NVIDIA is doing it all. NVIDIA, get it in your portfolio. This isn't financial advice, but you heard all the information I just gave you. You've seen all the information I just gave you. Go do your research. NVIDIA is an amazing company. If you like this video, if you got any value out of this video, let me know in the comments, man. Let me know in the comments if you're invested in NVIDIA, if you've used any of the GPUs. Let me know. Please like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for tuning in.